Hello all. I do have a guest coming on in a second, but I just wanted to firstly say hello and thank you to everyone who's been following these streams. They've been really enlightening. Also, just really humbling to know that people actually listen, and anyone who follows content, like for example for Mauler, who these streams about at the moment, that not everyone is essentially kind of trying to take him off and cancel him and all those nice lovely words. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone listening, watching, and for all those who are taking part and guesting. Now there might be those who are wondering, just to do a little bit of housekeeping firstly. So you might be wondering, why is this long form? No, not long form. Why is this vertical as opposed to the normal live streams that you usually click on? So I'm just testing something out. This is a new YouTube feature where I haven't got it so I can do horizontal and vertical yet. I'm going to have to look at some different software for that. But it's just like an interesting thing. See if I can get some more eyeballs on this content and see how it goes. So without any further ado, I'll bring my first guest in, and whoever else wants to hop on, more than welcome. So, hello.
Hi.
Good to see you again.
Hey.
I actually have a little bit of, let's say, masochism going on today, so I'm hoping you're wanting to be part of that. What I thought I'd do is, because I want to like test a couple of features, it's kind of killing two birds with one stone here. I want to play a few of Organized Chaos's shorts and kind of rip them apart a bit.
Oh, sure, man. Sounds great.
Yeah, I thought I'd give us something to do just in case.
Yeah. I had a joke prepared, just that it is I, the official co-host of the Mauler praise stream, apparently.
Yeah. I actually got a solitary comment saying that you've got good insight and stuff. So the one comment I have on these streams is about you.
Yeah, I believe that comment was made by me, but yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So that, yeah. No more said about that then. Yeah. So yeah, what I want you to do is, instead of just like praising and oh, hang on one moment. Sorry, I just had YouTube open at the same time, like on a normal thing, watching myself, and I just had my own
Yeah.
voice blasted into my own ear. So that
Yeah.
was just fun.
I had a
All
very
right.
similar experience.
Yeah. All right. I actually, yeah, let's see. Yeah, I've got the page up, so I'm just gonna bring it on stream now. One sec. Present, share, organize chaos, share. Are you seeing that okay?
Yeah. Seems to be working.
Okay. Just trying to find the best way to present it. I thought it would have sorry, I can't even get my words out today. I thought it would have filled the screen a bit more, because I just, it's one of the things that I think I feel I need I need them to sort out, so that if you want to do a short or something, it fills the whole screen. Because with the vertical ratio, I know it's probably going to look a bit bigger on phones and stuff, but to me, it's like, if I were just to watch it the way I am right now, I couldn't read it. I'd have to go to the actual page.
Yeah.
Okay, where are you? Right, so I've got the organized chaos one specifically about Mauler. By the way, if you hear something in the background, I'm really sorry. It's just my rabbit going absolutely nuts. It's his free roam, and anytime he hears my voice and when I'm trying to actually do something that requires quiet, he decides to be a animal pinball going around the room. Okay. So let's watch first video. Oh yeah, sorry. Did you say you had something to say first, like a joke or something?
No, we can kick off with this. I don't think I have. I had like maybe something, but it might come up later, so we'll see.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so first one is Mauler triggered by organized chaos. I'm going to click on it just to see if you can hear it okay, just in case it's just me, and then we can continue from there.
Oh, and I just reminded myself as well.
Can you hear that?
Yep.
Okay, bro.
Part of what he watches, Organized Chaos, is the part where I'm talking to you about what the solution for the memory store is. You remember that? And obviously, you suggest, like any fucking normal writer would, that we have dialogue for the characters discussing their interests and values. And his response to that is, how fucking boring. And like, there are people in his audience that are like, people like Driggerbull that don't understand the memory store is creative. It is imaginative. And I'm just sitting there like, it's the opposite, you losers. What do you mean?
Okay, so their brilliant idea instead of the so the memory store thing is a bit clunky. It could have been done better, but it's obviously done for visual storytelling. His solution is just have a dialogue exchange. Really? You think that's gonna be better on a visual medium? That's your brilliant idea? That's brilliant, man.
Oh, and
right. So my yeah, like you just kind of have to applaud on him on his stupidity at the very least. So I don't know why that screen's gone back to there. 1 sec. Shorts.
You gotta say, like, this guy is like scientifically was designed in a lab to be insufferable. The voice itself is quite something.
Yeah. And to be honest, I actually just had to go back and see if I clicked on the right channel, because for him to post that as a short on his own channel has just made him look like an idiot. So I just don't get it. Yeah, like it's as if he's got this like dumbass filter where he listens to like a really well constructed arguments and stuff, and he's like, what's these guys talking about, really? Just like, what? Yeah, any thoughts on that clip yourself?
Well, I would be very interested in hearing, since Organized Chaos himself said that it's a bit of a wonky solution, like what would be his solution, since apparently he knows a lot more about how the visual storytelling medium works.
Yeah, I challenge him to make his own 6-hour video on it, and not that we really want to listen to that voice for 6 hours, but like, practice what you preach, kind of thing. Critical Drinker, Mauler, and Nerdrotic are scared of organized chaos. Interested to see what, because all of these shorts I've like, for example, the short that we just saw is obviously from like a longer video, but going through these I haven't specifically gone in and actually watched them, apart from the EFAP highlights you can probably just see there. But the ones from his own channel, I don't know if he's put his own stick on it or whatever, so this is new to me as well. Yeah, same as us, Jeremy. I hate organized chaos so much. Okay.
Mr. Lucas says, "Hey everyone, I hope you had a good Christmas. Hey Mauler, you should debate some of your haters on EFAP. It would be hilarious."
He does.
Bring organized chaos on.
I barely have enough time to review this. I'm behind.
Like, if they would come on.
Let's say.
They all talk a big effing game, but when it comes time to like, hey, let's talk, they
well, but like in a lot of them,
I got it.
Okay, I've got to go back there very slightly because that's really important.
I thought he was going to talk like last time. I thought he was going to talk again like last time. Been taken off guard. It was just text.
Yeah.
Mr. Lucas says,
I'm gonna have
hey
to go.
everyone,
It
hope you
doesn't
had a
let me
good
screw up,
Christmas.
but there
Hey,
is
Mauler,
one
you
thing
should
I
debate some
do
of your
need
haters on
to
EFAP. It
pause
would be
on, so just be a
hilarious.
sec.
Bring organized chaos
I
on.
barely have enough time to review this. I'm behind. Like,
If they
everyone's
would
still
come
just talking about.
on, they all talk a big effing game, but when it comes time to like, hey, let's talk, they
Well, but like in a lot of them,
I got it.
Okay. So this I did my first debate 3 months ago and already have a playlist. Bear in mind, the only one that anyone ever either remembers or the only one anyone can find is the one where he debates Eric July. I don't think it's actually debated Mauler directly, and Mauler's already said multiple times that he'll debate pretty much anyone on the videos that they made about him. So unless it's like, if they come on EFAP and it's like organized chaos where they're just bad faith and they just don't freaking make the arguments that they're talking about, then fine. But he says he'll pretty much debate anyone within reason, and he hasn't done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the guy's a coward. And the reason I'm kind of going through these videos of him is that I just want to highlight the fact, the kind of people who make these type of bad videos about Mauler, in that they don't really have any kind of arguments themselves. All they're doing is just schoolyard tactics, just saying, don't look at this guy, look at me, I'm the cool one, type of thing.
Yeah, fair enough. It's just kind of weird format, I guess. I don't really watch many shorts, so I'm kind of weirded out by like the style of these videos.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so I can't remember whether it was with you or the other couple of guests that I had on. There was this thing where I kind of said that, like, the next one I'm actually going to show here is one I was talking about, where Eric was kind of like talking about all these things about the comic book that he brought out, and like all the stuff that he's been reading, and going into detail various things with comic books. And Organized Chaos was hung up on the fact that he hadn't seen one specific comic from one specific franchise, and that he's not a comic book reader because of that. Bear in mind, not a Spider-Man, not an Iron Man, not a Superman or anything, just one of these comics that most people probably haven't heard of if they're a normie, and he's saying he's no comic book reader.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. There was a conversation where he said he was triggered, and then right after that said that he didn't say that.
Right. Just gonna play it now.
Why is he doing what he's doing?
As far as what? Give me a specific
anything. Give me, like, pick your own example and give it to me.
I'm not giving you anything.
Give me an example.
I'll tell you what. If you
I'll give you an example. You've read Amazing Fantasy number 15, right?
Hold on, I just want to read that out, actually. Amazing Fantasy 15 is perhaps the most famous comic book in existence, seconded only by possibly Action Comics number 1. I am bringing it up as a story, as we should both know that shows clear character and motivations. The story is very famous and was the basis for the first half of 2002 Spider-Man. An average person doesn't need to know this, but a person who spends their time talking about comic books and claims to have a comic book expert should be at least have basic knowledge of the book and story. Which, do you agree with that or not? It kind of sounds like a half point, but what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not really sure. First of all, I love that it's just like a short and you have to pause it to read like a mountain of text.
Yeah.
It's like really great design there, my guy. But Amazing Fantasy 15. I don't know, maybe it's like a big deal for Spider-Man people, but to say it's like, oh, this is like one of the most important comic books ever, I'd be like, it's like The Killing Joke, maybe. A lot of Batman comics probably outshine it. I don't think that's even like a correct take, let alone if we get down to like this it's almost like my hated media literacy argument, which I just don't like, which is like, oh, you claim to be very knowledgeable on this, but you don't know this very specific one, which is like relatively popular or something like that. It's not a real point, right? People can be knowledgeable on topics whilst lacking some of the knowledge. Does that disqualify you from talking about them? Especially if you're like a creator in that space, like Eric July is making his own comic book. I would say that gives him much more like space to talk about the comic industry than like a lot of other people. But does that disqualify you if you don't know this comic book, if you've never read it? I think that's not a real point. I think you can use it to say that maybe, hey, and no, actually, no. I will have to go back even what I just said. I just think that's a non-point. I think
no, I do kind of get what you're saying, because like the thing is, I'm gonna get killed by people and probably cancelled by people for even saying this, but I don't particularly like Spider-Man. He's not my favorite. As far as the movies go, I like Tom Holland and all the rest of them who played him, but Spider-Man isn't my deal. Like, I am like Iron Man, Captain America, maybe Doctor Strange if like Multiverse of Madness was an absolute gobshite, but like, I have my own superheroes. Not everyone likes Spider-Man, and I can probably tell you a million things about Tony Stark or Steve Rogers or Black Widow, any of the rest of them, but I'm not too familiar with Spider-Man. That doesn't necessarily make me a non-MCU film. It's just that if you ask me most things about Spider-Man, it's I know the 90% of the stuff, but then you're just asking me about that 10%. But that doesn't necessarily mean I know nothing. It's just that I don't know the one thing that you know. That's not a bad thing, you idiot.
I think I figured out what the issue is, actually, what I have as an issue. If so let's imagine you say, oh, I'm pretty knowledgeable in fantasy. Like, I have a lot of knowledge in the field of fantasy. And then I'm like, oh, did you read Lord of the Rings? And you say, no, I didn't read Lord of the Rings. I'm like, how can you claim to be a fantasy expert whilst not reading Lord of the Rings? That doesn't disqualify you from being a fantasy expert. If you said, I am a Lord of the Rings expert, and then I asked, did you read Lord of the Rings? And you said no, that would disqualify you. But because fantasy is such a broad genre, not reading one specific part of that genre would not disqualify you from being knowledgeable about it.
Yeah, there's a show. I don't know whether you know about this. It's an English one, but I don't know whether there's like different like country versions of it. It's called Mastermind. Essentially, it's a darkened room. Someone sits on this leather black chair, and they're asked questions, as many questions as they can in like 30 seconds, like to prove that they pick the subject, and then there's like general knowledge, but the subject pick. You obviously assume that they know pretty much everything about it. Now, they're actually very clever with this, because if I were to sit in that seat and say, because I love Doctor Who, not the recent ones, but I do love Doctor Who, and I think I'm pretty knowledgeable about it from 2000, whatever it's come out from Christopher Eccleston, and forward from that. But if you was asked to ask me anything that happened like 50 years ago, I wouldn't have a clue, because I didn't watch too many of them. So I would actually get the option of saying I watch inverted brackets New Who, so I'm going to ask questions about that, and all the other stuff will be negated. But if you was to ask, if that mastermind would say, "Oh yeah, Doctor Who fan," I'll ask you something about William Hartnell, Tom Baker, and stuff like that, I wouldn't be able to answer it. But that doesn't necessarily mean I don't like Doctor Who. It's just that I know some stuff about some things, but not the other parts of it. Doesn't make it any less valid.
Yeah, and especially you deal like with comic books, which is a really broad genre. There's a shit ton of different comic books, shit ton of different companies that do them. Like, not knowing some of the mainstream stuff doesn't mean that you don't know about comic books. Like, there's such a well of knowledge. that you could potentially be like an expert and never read a Marvel or a DC comic book in your life.
Yeah. Like with comics, with The Walking Dead, for example, like us, I hate it. It's only until like the third or fourth season where I even realized there was actually a comic book about it. Like, just because you like one part of something and you haven't read the comics that I love The Walking Dead doesn't make it invalid that I don't know anything about The Walking Dead. It's just that it's just stupid to just generalize in this way. I just don't get why people do that. But with him, it's bad faith, so anything goes with him.
Yeah,
I guess.
it's a gotcha bad faith argument. That's why they do it.
Yeah. There was one. Not that one. There was a short that came up. I can't find it now. I might have to go to his channel actually. Unfortunately. And by the way, so everyone can see this, I'm not subscribed. He says that EFAP is anti-art. Which is ludicrous considering they spent about 5, 6, 10, 12 hours on one stream talking about it.
That's such like that's such a weird statement. I just don't think you can back that up in any way that's like makes sense to say that someone is anti-art.
Yeah. So I'm gonna actually type it into search. Where were we?
Oh my god, he was on Adamant's stage. Oh my god.
Oh, here we go. Critical Drinker and EFAP are anti-art.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't set out to make a shit movie.
Nope.
Sony obviously wanted this movie to make a bit.
Oh my god, he's just out openly defending Sony right now. Okay, let's see what this argument is. But it sounds like he's about ready to say Sony just wanted to make a good movie, but S.J. Clarkson fucked it up. Let's see what Will Jordan says. Maybe I'm wrong.
$1 billion. They wanted it to be good, so they clearly did care about providing a good experience for the end user, the audience. They just weren't able to deliver it. Whose fault is that? Is it theirs, or is it the creatives,
or is it both? Or
why would they have meddled?
Yes, so that is his argument. His argument is Sony just wanted to make a good Madam Web movie, but the creatives fucked it up, so they didn't come out. I'm sorry, all you fucking EFAP fans, you Phantom Menace fans, all you guys coming into the channel and talking about how apparently they're anti-corporate. They're anti-fucking art.
They didn't set out to make a shit movie.
They're not anti-corporate as such. They're just pissed off at the fact that corporate, it just seems that a regular problem these days is that corporate keeps coming in to change things to the point that it's looking nothing like what it's supposed to look like, ticking all these boxes, etc. But had corporate come in and actually improve the movie, EFAP would be 100% backing them up. That's a stupid argument.
Yeah. No, like he didn't have that argument. He was like, "Oh, is his argument gonna be this? Oh, it is his argument. Wow, that's so bad." And then he doesn't say anything about it. It's like, dude, what is your argument? What's your refutal of that point? You don't have any.
Yeah. And one thing I did notice, I'm just going to go back to his main page again. I'm not going to click on a video on it because I don't think I can stand too much more of him. But if one sec, here we go. So if you to actually go and like just see the thumbnails and everything, his videos, a lot of this is not here. I think it was on Shorts. I saw it. Sorry, it's just a trend I saw earlier on today. a lot of stuff that it does is about like nerdrotic and things, like just slandering other channels and their takes on things, where there's not really too much there of his own arguments. It's just thumbnail after thumbnail of like Dave Cullen, Nerdrotic, Ben Shapiro, Eric July, a lot of others, instead of actually saying, this is what I think, these is the things that I think I can approve. It's just slandering other creators.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think like if you saw this done with like a more right-wing creator, or like a creator that people don't like because he's anti-woke, that people will be crying like about harassment and shit like that. You know, this guy can obsessively make a channel just talking about these guys over and over again, and no one bats an eye.
Right. What do you think he... Oh, hang on. Sorry, I just got a comment. Yeah, just dropping by to say hi. Hi, LHN, Family Gaming, one of my mads. Sorry, my mod.
That's fine.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, not that he would really like win an argument against Mauler or anything, because he's not anywhere near the same kind of level as him, but how do you think he would actually be able to defend himself against anything that Mauler would be able to bring up? Like, come on, man, why do you hate me so much? Like, that's obviously not what I said. What do you have to say about that, you know?
I think he can't. From what you can see, like in the Eric July conversation, he just fundamentally isn't an honest person. It wouldn't be an honest conversation. There would be like no... I don't think there is a possibility of like talking it out with him. He is just dead set on thinking that these guys are like evil and they're anti-art and all this bullshit. And he doesn't really have arguments. He just has this core belief, and he tries to force it in any way possible.
Do you think it is a belief, or do you think he's essentially just seeing an opportunity to farm views, and this is just the easiest way to do it? Do you think there's anything in him that actually believes the things that he's saying?
That's a good question. I guess, like to what extent is he a grifter, and to what extent is he just a dumbass, right?
Yeah.
I would say that I think it's definitely a grift at this point, but it started off with him just being a dumbass. So at his core, he believes this stuff somewhat, and then maybe he plays it up for the YouTube channel because he knows this gets him views.
Yeah, because if you kind of listen to the actual words that he says, like how I'd literally have to go through like 20 to 30 minutes to try and find it on one of his videos, which I'm just not going to do until I have to edit it. By the way, I will be absolutely ripping him apart on my edited video, so I look forward to that. I can actually talk properly on an edited video as opposed to live, as you'll probably see. But when he did his Mauler video, when he himself was trying to rip apart Multiverse of Madness, not the film, but Mauler's take on it, he would like let the video play for a good like 10-20 seconds, which is actually a very long time when you're watching this type of stuff. And then he'd like pause, he'd like go, like, dude, why are you being so nitpicky? I don't understand why you're being so nitpicky. And then he play another thing, go on for another 10-20 seconds or so, of a completely different point. It's like, dude, it's like, I just don't, like, why are you being so nitpicky? And like, if that's the only thing you have to say, your videos are invalid.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have like that much experience with. I didn't see him talking about Multiverse of Madness, but if that's like his primary point, then yeah, that's absolutely dog shit. And it's like people get mad at EFAP, especially when they don't understand the format of like, oh, why are you constantly pausing? It's like every single time, like, oh, you get new people in chat. And you don't realize that formula is like not there just like for the meme. It's like very important for people to completely understand and like properly address the video. It's just you can't let it play for like a long time because you're gonna lose the points. You need to respond like there to each argument after you like and like properly like address it as it's being constructed in front of you during the video.
Yeah, like oh my god, what's his name? Jack Saint, I think. He doesn't like, weirdly he does like an hour's worth of video on this, but the title of the video is something along the lines of long content isn't deep content, or long critique isn't deep critique, or something like that. Yeah. And it seems to me that the whole entire argument is they're attacking the format as opposed to the content and the what's inside that content itself, as opposed to the actual argument against what's actually being said within the video. It's just that, oh, that's 6 hours. Why is that so long? I can make this argument in less than 6 hours. I'm sure you fucking can, but that's not the point. The point is how they construct things. And if you're going to make an argument of every frame of pause, well, say EFAP, which is every frame of pause, then you don't click and keep on that video and keep watching if you don't like the format, right? So the only reason to make the argument, I don't like that format, why does it exist? Well, if you to actually watch it and take it in, you will probably answer your own question. More than likely, you won't have an argument against it to make an argument. Am I making any sense here?
No, I follow. The thing with their like critique of long content is that they fundamentally don't make a correct point. They have an assumption, which is that they make a correct point, which is that if something is long, it can be meandering. It can say like not say anything. It can be pandering. It can be panned out. It can be stretched out. And as I established in my initial arguments, I believe that Mauler is guilty of that to not like a great degree. It's like an opposite of that, like a minuscule degree. Like he sometimes does it slightly, but they fail to understand that there's the possibility of it being the other way around, which is that it's a long critique and it's also deep. Which is like long critique doesn't necessarily equal deep critique, but it also doesn't equal not deep critique.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this over the week as well, and I think I've come up with a way of kind of explaining it in my own head from what you said about it's not what he's saying, it's the way he's saying it. Now, within Mauler's videos, you're going to probably get 100,000 different tiny things that he goes over in absolutely excruciating detail, hilarious detail, but it's excruciating nonetheless. I think what your point is that you can still make all the same things, but not in so many words. Is that right?
Yes.
As opposed to, I mean, you can still be entertaining, you can still retention keeping, all the rest of that, but you don't have to be like you don't have to word people to death, if that makes sense.
Yes, that's basically fundamentally my issue.
Okay. Yeah, so I think back to the point I was trying to make earlier is I feel that they're not making the arguments against the argument being made in the video. They're just saying, okay, this video is 10 hours long, or this this thumbnail says this isn't wrong, unbridled meh, or whatever the unbridled is. And they're just seeing that and creating a whole video around that and saying nothing. And especially in, I'd have to go back and check. It's actually something I need. It's one of my bullet points actually. Like with the Star Wars ones, or the Black Widow and everything, I don't think there are any chapter titles. What I think they did with the most recent ones, with Multiverse of Madness onwards, is they probably saw the chapter titles as saying, this is the intro. The intro probably looks about 20 to 30 minutes long. And then Jack Saint made the argument, I can make an intro for about like 5 minutes and without all this pain. Now, and then he proceeded to make like a 10-minute intro himself to prove that it didn't need to be done. But the point is that in itself wasted the viewer's time, where he could have just said his intro is too long because A, B, C, X, Y, Z. He didn't have to prove that point in that bitchiness way.
Yeah, because their issue isn't the substance of the content; it's just its sheer length, which is stupid. It's idiotic. I think it can be definitely said. You can definitely like look at something and listen to it, and then like attack its substance and its length. You can be like, for as long as you like take to say this, it doesn't make any sense. If you kept it shorter, you could have been more concise and made more sense. But that's not their argument. Their argument is, wow, this is really long. Why is it not short?
Yeah, and that is the entire argument. Literally it. No, I just can't subscribe to that. In fact, I don't subscribe to them because I'm not subscribed to the channel. But I need different words than that. But yeah, it's just so annoying that there's too much hate for people like Mauler, Nerdrotic, Critical Drinker. If it was about the actual arguments being made, it would be great that we could actually sit down and actually like hammer out a proper debate. But all these creators are just being hammered for the wrong reasons, and it's not deserved.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I have to say. Did you say, because I want to circle back, did you say you had some stuff that you wanted to talk about at the start of this?
Yes, so there was just like there was one thing I forgot for my criticisms, and then I thought I would bring it up in the second call that I've been on, and then I forgot it again, so hopefully I won't. but I haven't forgotten this time. One criticism I forgot was about Mauler's editing. We kind of touched upon it.
Yeah.
With the fact of the way we talked about. What am I trying to say here? About the way that these long form videos are mostly an audio experience. And that I feel that Mauler kind of kills a lot of time on editing, on doing like some like extra like visual gags, or just trying to make the video look pretty. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't try and like strive for some standard, but I don't think you need to go above and beyond for a video that most people are not going to watch. I think it significantly slows down your production, right? It's like quite possibly the biggest issue for him. And it can sometimes come off as nauseating. For me, the intro to the Ant-Man Quantum Mania, I didn't like that. I thought that was really weird, and I thought it was really over-edited. I understood the reference, and I just thought this isn't really working, and it looks like something that probably took hours upon hours to achieve, and maybe, yeah.
So when you say nauseating, is it just like that you're trying to pay attention to that kind of editing for so long? And when I say that, would you agree that if he went back to the format that he used with the Star Wars videos, that he'd do like 3 or 4 videos on the same movie, still do like the same content that would probably last for like 6 hours, but split it up? Do you think that'd be a better idea to go back to?
Possibly. I think largely like when it comes to the different formats, since Mauler does like multiple different types of videos, right? I don't know if he's gonna go back to the episodic one which he had with Star Wars, which I think is kind of a good idea because it segments the amount of work you have to do. But when it comes to like doing unbridled rages, for example. I think that with what was the last one? Was the last one Justice League? I think it might have been.
I actually don't know. I thought it was Ant-Man.
Was that an unbridled rage, or was that like a straight up review?
So I think the Justice League was probably just rage. Because Ant-Man and everything are actual like two-sided reviews, sorry, not two-sided, objective reviews as opposed to just things that he hates.
So when you look at the editing for the Zack Snyder Justice League one, I feel like you can tell that there's a lot more going into that. And when you compare it, for example, to the Game of Thrones one, and I think it would be okay to go back to the Game of Thrones paradigm, where it's a relatively simple form of editing, because I think it can work sometimes better, or sometimes less is more. And I think it really works for the rage videos, because they're not meant to be like highly edited review formats that you like. You don't need to include like clips to back you up and stuff like if you have that, that's fine, but you can leave that out, because I don't think that's part of the format. That's like part of the reviews more so. And in general, I think that a bit more simplicity, because as I said, the Quantum Mania one, it opens with like that really edited it references like this really specific video clip that I can't remember the name of, but it's like it separates, it changes colors, you have like layered sound and all of that, and I just kind of found that really weird, and I didn't like that. I thought this is like that seems to me like a lot of wasted time, that maybe if that wasn't done for the video, which I didn't think it brought a lot to the video might have come out sooner.
So you're probably going to hate what I'm going to do with my videos then. Look, there's only one person watching right now, so don't feel so bad about mentioning this. So the first like 30 seconds or so of it would be I'm essentially got a snippet from Google like asking what the definition of bad faith is. That's going to come towards a screen in the kind of melodramatic, like horror kind of suspense sound coming towards you. And then I'd say something along the lines of, so I went on the internet and I found this. And then there'd be a whole montage of, say, Jack Saint, Organized Chaos, and a few other people just ripping into Mauler in a kind of like news style type of thing. And then I'd pause it after that and says, we'll get to them, but don't you worry. But my point is, in like the first 30 seconds or so, it's going to be really extremely kind of produced, that it's kind of like one of what you just said about Mauler's videos. And then the rest of it is just like silence and me actually talking.
Yeah, like it can work, I guess. I'm not like gonna pass judgment. And even like Mauler's videos, I think he could have executed that intro. I just think that the way he did it was very overproduced. And I think that might be kind of the issue he has generally with videos, why they take so long, because the vibe I get is that they are generally overproduced, overscripted. And I understand like you want to take your time and get everything right, especially when you pose yourself as the objective guy, right? You don't want to get caught out by your own type of argumentation. But the problem with that is that you end up with like once in a year, once in half a year upload schedule, which is it's not great.
Yeah. And that was the other thing that was said about it, is that, like, look, we love the idea of EFAP. Is on about 5,000 freaking live streams with other people per week at this point, it seems like. But we want to, people who subscribe to the Mauler channel want to listen to Mauler. They don't want all these different like guests and stuff. They just want to like listen to it. I keep saying want to see him, but obviously you don't. But they want to listen to Mauler. So yeah, it's probably one of the reasons why I say why not just split it up into different segments. So like you get, even though you might be getting the same amount of content, at least it's split up. So at the very least, you have something to look forward to. So on a more regular basis. So yeah, I kind of get that. The only thing I'd have to say about what you just said about like too much going into it is when he does stuff like, and by the way, this is my favorite part of the Ant-Man video, is when he starts talking about characters and he gets onto Cassie about her big speech to like rile up the troops and everything. He spends, and I timed it, 10 minutes and 42 seconds speaking about Andor, and the speech in that was just class. And it really held my attention, and he had great things to say about the speech, really articulate, all the rest of it, and it was my favorite part of the video. What do you have to say about stuff like that, where he kind of pauses, starts talking about something else to make his point, and then get back to the rest of the video?
I think it works really great, like working with examples. I think the one point of criticism I might have to that was in the Star Wars Can't Grow Up video, where he opens with like explaining the plot of the Futurama episode and the Buffy episode that he was going to compare that Ahsoka episode to. I would have just cut that and just brought up the example where it was relevant, because I don't think you need a retelling of those episodes to understand the comparison when it's brought up.
Okay.
But otherwise, I'm cool with it. And also, sorry, I'm going to kind of bring it back, but it's something that I kind of realized when you mentioned like splitting it up into multiple parts. This would really help Mauler, I think, because you can build up a catalog of like you make a single video, then you split it up, and then you can release it in like a couple of months, and that buys you time to make more videos. And it creates like an appearance of you making more content than whilst you're still making the same amount of content as you're making now.
Yeah, and one thing that I swear he must have done on the Star Wars ones as well is he can still make a 6-hour video and it not be interrupted, because what he does is he obviously does his intro first, then he gets into the meat of the video, and then he does his other sections after. So he has defined sections of his video, so all he really needs to do is start off the video saying, okay, this is the journey I'm about to start you off on. He gets at the end of one section of that video, then I'm going to have to stop there, and I'll be bringing out a new video soon. And the next one would be, so where we left off was here, so my next thing that I want to bring up is this, and that's carry on that part of the video. And then he does it until the video is finished, and it would seem like he stopped making that video, he wants to do another one to finish off his point, and it's a constant work, as opposed to feeling like, oh, he's just done one thing and he's just trying to milk it type of thing. So there's things he can do. I've done it myself. Yeah.
I would also say it can be quite helpful with digestion of the content. Like if we move past like the point I made the first time about his writing style, I think it could help people maintain attention and kind of understanding of some of the more complicated parts of his wording. If you have like breaks between the videos, I would compare this to Patrician. So Patrician has 2 video essay series on his channel that I watch that I really enjoy. He has his Skyrim videos, which are in 2 blocks, 2 10-hour videos. They're really good, but it's like thick. It's because it's a 10-hour video, so it kind of blends for you after a while. It kind of becomes like a mush in your mind. He has another series which is like 10 hours long, and it's split up into individual 1-hour videos about Fallout 76. And I have to say that really helped me like digest the content, because like 1 hour you retain your attention. And it's a very clear section because he had to make it in such a way where he could cut it off at the hour and then move on and do the other hour. and it really helps you like digest the long form content, the large amount of long form content a lot easier when it's like a video essay that's trying to make very concise points.
Right. Now, with that said, if he did cut that down into however long segments needed, so it can be digested, would you say that over speaking his sentences, like I can't even remember what the example you gave on the first video was, that basically saying the same thing in less words. Would you feel that would be necessary if he splits up the length of his videos? Like if he had an hour of that intenseness and long words, all the rest of it, do you think that would even be on your radar if the length of the actual video would be shorter?
I think it would help with. Yeah, I think it wouldn't be as much of an issue as I have when it's in like there's such a block and it all like links up to in like a 4-hour video or something, for sure. I think I would still kind of have an issue with that, but that's just because that's my author brain. As an author, I'm like simplify everything.
Yeah.
But, I would definitely have less of an issue with it, probably.
Right.
Definitely, probably.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to simplify everything that he says, because that's part of what makes Mauler's content original. The fact that he doesn't care about not only not care about that type of stuff, but when he says something, he says a lot. He speaks a lot and says a lot, as opposed to people like Jack Saints who speaks a lot but says nothing. You know, the stuff that he's saying and the words that he is using is actually very good to articulate the thing that he is saying, as opposed to him just being patronizing and just making up words like make himself sound good.
Yeah, for sure. Like I get it, and it's also like a part of his humor. I think he developed over time with EFAP.
Yeah,
it's like, and that's kind of a subjective thing because I don't find it that much funny. I would probably prefer if it was simplified and I understood it better, but that's like a me thing rather than an objective criticism of his content.
In that way, do you feel okay? If, say, would you prefer to watch Mauler simplified or a much longer EFAP where they're actually talking like people who you go out to a pub with?
Maybe even like a much longer EFAP, honestly, because I don't mind. As we talked about, like the breaking up the long form content, I don't mind it for live streams and EFAPs because that's kind of a different atmosphere from like a video essay and the way you phrase yourself. And I think it's no longer an issue. It might even be like a benefit. Depends really on your execution. I would probably prefer the EFAP format. I've grown accustomed to EFAP at this point. But like the thing is, like I like some of Mauler's older content when it comes to like the Unbridled Rage, for example, the Game of Thrones, where I thought that that was before he developed some of these quirks that now are like synonymous with his channel for some people. And I would maybe like I wouldn't mind watching just like pure Mauler content if it was in more so that kind of fashion, I guess.
Okay. So basically, what we would say in England is a no frills type of thing. Like you just get in the bog standard. There's not much else to it, as opposed to putting in all these bells and whistles that bulk it up too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's an interesting take. Not a bad take, just interesting.
Yeah.
Like to me, like when I before have said that he puts in these, what I like to call them, games in his videos, like with Multiverse of Madness, you get the different ways you say Benedict Cumberbatch, and in Black Widow he'd say what the fuck, a load of different types of ways, and different ways of saying Taskmaster. Those type of things I like, and those are the kind of things that keep my attention. But yeah, I do kind of get that you just get to the point sometimes. I haven't got all day.
Yeah, kind of. I like some of the interjections, like his gags. I think my favorite one is when Viserion gets killed and he just fades to black and white with the music. He's like, "There comes a time when the Revere," is probably like favorite gag from Mauler.
Yeah. That said, I do gain away from the Mauler channel, but onto EFAP. There was a EFAP highlight they brought out just recently about King Viserys in when he walked across the room. Have you seen Something of the Dragon?
House of the Dragon.
Yeah, that's it. Why is my brain not working? So essentially, they had this whole thing where the most favorite part of essentially the whole franchise, I think, was just Viserys walking across the room, and how great does he have to be as an actor to just take the stage direction. We want you to walk across the room to be one of the greatest scenes in freaking history, you know. But I don't even know what I was trying to say about that. Oh yeah, it's literally just the kind of comments they're making. It's like, oh my god, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I really like the way that guy walks across that room. As far as walking is concerned, that guy nailed it. Like, just the way they put things, that they make a big deal out of small things, not to criticize. Just you watch Family Guy?
I saw some, yeah.
They had the kind of same thing there, where they make really mundane stuff just feel like a big thing. I can't explain it in any other way than that.
Sure. I think I kind of understand the point, though. The thing about like House of the Dragon, I do think that I can't remember his name sadly, but the actor that plays Viserys does like an amazing job, and there's a lot of subtext there. Like one thing you have to give to like George, aside from not finishing books, is that he's very good at including subtext and like metaphors into his text when like very mundane things like people eating food, for example, in the book. There's actual metaphors in that. There's like references for what's going to happen in this story if you pay attention to the way they eat the food. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, anytime you like mention something in fantasy and eating food, I automatically go to the Return of the King scene where he's just like eating those tomatoes and stuff, and he's like pretty much gorging out of his face when Pippin's like crying, singing. Like, the other thing that George R. R. Martin is good at is turning his audience into a nervous wreck at any scene ever. Like I was essentially, I pretty much got out the tissues when Viserys was just looking around the room when he was about to die, and thinking this is last time I'll see my family and stuff. It's like, for God's sake, I want to sleep tonight. I don't want to go to sleep crying.
Yeah, he's very good at ripping out your heart.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, just wish he actually finished stuff.
Yeah.
You know? Like, all these prequels and all these spin-offs and everything don't really mean anything if we don't know where the freaking story ends.
Oh, sadly, I think we know where the story ends. It's just, it would be great if it was told from his perspective and not like two guys that are trying to leave the franchise to do Star Wars instead.
Yeah. But I also have a feeling that he I don't necessarily think it's just a case of his saying "f you" to the fans. I think he's actually scared because season 8 was such a freaking piece of misery that he doesn't want anything that he produces to, writes or whatever, that people will be the same way towards that, because Game of Thrones fans, regardless of how season 8 was, they're bloody passionate. I was passionate. I named my rabbit Ghost, for God's sake.
Well, the thing is, the reason why George isn't writing as much, at least from like my perspective, is kind of complicated. It's like a combination of things of him like having a type of story which is really difficult to complete in the first place, having a type of writing which is like, and most authors couldn't write the way he does, which is George basically makes shit up as he goes. That's a very complex method of writing, even though it doesn't sound like it. And a big issue George has right now is timelines. The way the books are currently set up, he can't line them up time-wise. When Dan and Dave get a lot of shit for people teleporting around and having a jetpack and all those jokes, that's like, it's a valid joke, but it also brings up the point that George has to deal with, which is like, oh, these characters are like thousands of miles apart, and by the end of this book, they all need to be in this one specific place.
Yeah. Like with what's the name? What's the name with the needle?
Arya.
That's the one. Like when she found out from the pie guy that, like, oh my god, they're back at Winterfell, and then she just magically appears there. She's literally on the other side of the world. And by herself, little girl, regardless of how good at fighting she is now, you're still a little girl who isn't as fast as a grown person. So it's going to take her twice as time to get places. It's like, and also bear in mind, Game of Thrones was meant to go beyond either stop at series 10 or 11. They always had massive plans to do that, but as you just said, the guys just wanted to get on to doing Star Wars. But they had a massive freaking franchise themselves where people were freaking watching it hard.
Yeah.
Just can't understand that. So yeah, you get people like Mauler who's quite pissed off about it.
Yeah, those are really good streams, like looking back. And maybe I'm a bit more nostalgic because Wolf was really involved with that as well, because Wolf was really into Game of Thrones. And I think he had some pretty good observations there as well.
Unfortunately, I never really... I wish I did, actually. I didn't know Wolf until I got to know EFAP. I subscribed to EFAP around the time when Fringy was a main guest. So the only times I ever really seen Wolf was the Jack Saint thing, having that, I say arguments, having that thing with Jay where he's just never seen a movie ever, even though he's a critic, that kind of thing. So I've seen the odd things from him on EFAP, but I've never really gone to his channel, which doesn't exist anymore. I wish it did, because I'd go way back with him, because I'd eat it up. But I've only seen things like the Jeb and the Jeb Bush and the Don, things like that. I've only seen snippets of him, so I couldn't really comment too much on his stuff.
Yeah, sadly, that channel's been lost, which is a big shame, because I think he did some really good stuff. Like, I kind of get it. I think if you look for it, there's a playlist of like re-uploaded videos of his. There's some reviews. I think someone had the Jurassic World and the Aquaman one, which is like, those are pretty well known.
Or at the very least, if anyone wants to see him on any other platform, then maybe just keep all the videos, re-upload them to those as him. But no, even if he doesn't do anything with them, YouTube won't delete them unless like there's a massive like strike or something. He still have his content. People still be watching it, because when he makes his appearance, like on the Lord of the Rings 8-hour video, the live stream video, whatever you want to call it, it's backing things like that, and then people will obviously like him, interested in if does he have any other stuff, and go back. He doesn't necessarily need to be active on his own channel to get views and stuff. He can just keep it on. I don't know why he just didn't do that.
Yeah, I kind of get it. I would say that would be really cool if he did that. And like personally, if I was in his situation, I would do that. But like I understand why he doesn't do that, and it's ultimately it's his decision.
Oh yeah.
If he doesn't want to do that, then it's a shame. But I'm not gonna be like, oh well, fuck Wolf for not re-uploading his video.
Yeah. Now I'm literally, the only reason I even say those kind of things is that I'm trying myself to justify having his stuff deleted, because he can still make him some side revenue just by having his stuff up, because people eat those videos up.
Yeah.
It just seems to be. I get it, because because his mental health and all that, if he just generally doesn't want to even think about it, wants it out of sight, out of mind, fair enough. But honestly, it just, to not even have it to the point of don't want anything to do with the channel, but I still want to see some paychecks come through. I'm trying to be devil's advocate and fight his corner here. That's all.
Yeah, no, I get it. I would be really happy if he did that. So maybe, hopefully, one day.
Yeah, and at the very least, like maybe not so much again converse with the so-called fans or anything, but again, if he just wants it to not think about it, he could probably have someone like Mauler or Fringy edit his stuff for him and put them out as like shorts or highlights and stuff, as they're doing now with the EFAP. Like, there's so many things that it really is such a shame that he just isn't doing anything for himself.
Yeah, it's definitely a shame. Like, even for like EFAP, it's really good to see Wolf like pop up from time to time. It's like I would love him to pop on a stream maybe someday. But again, I get it if he like doesn't want to deal with that shit. That's completely fine. It's just like if this ever reaches Wolf somehow, it's like I think it would be a great idea to like pop on, having people love Wolf. People really like him. And it's like if someone gives you shit, then well, fuck them.
Yeah, well, I can definitely promise you that if my long video gets on the radar of EFAP and they do somehow play it and I'm on that stream, I can promise you I can bring up all this stuff with Wolf, because it's a crime that he felt that he can't do it anymore.
Yeah, sure. And like he seems to be in a better place right now with doing like the highlights and shit like that. So I think it's not an impossibility.
Yeah, I get it. To kind of relate to it, I guess is the best word. I used to be very much in the public eye, not in a public eye like YouTube or anything, like on the front line of whatever company I work for. So I worked for the NHS, the National Health Service in England, but I was receptionist, so I was essentially front line and speaking to the patients. I used to be like in retail quite a bit, so I was always I always had to have an outgoing seeming personality type of thing, and that all for me got to way too much. And now I'm in a job where I'm by myself. I'm essentially in a warehouse by myself, and I don't really have to be on that front line anymore, which is a lot better for me. And also with the YouTube thing, I'm trying to do better with like now doing live streams and stuff, but my jam is pretty much editing. So I get that in his perspective.
Yeah.
Like, it just does get too much at times. So was there anything else you wanted to bring up?
I think I had something else. I was gonna it was actually funny because I was gonna like ask you if you're going to like watch some like detractors of EFAP, like their content. Well, I guess that question has been answered.
I was actually going to ask you the same thing because I'll tell you for why. Next week, now I know I like last week and this week I've done this vertical format, which for sharing from browsers is complete and utter waste of time. It looks like, but I was actually thinking of reviewing a video through live stream like they do on EFAP, the Southpaw one.
Jesus.
Yeah, I was thinking of. I know it's a 5-hour video, and there's no way I'd be able to do it on a stream like this, or at least I'd have to break it up into separate streams. But I was wondering actually if you're interested in just like sitting down like this and just doing our own little EFAP on his video, because I'm really interested. Because I've actually watched the first like half an hour or so, and already I'm like, dude, seriously, just. Don't take yourself so seriously,
Yeah.
Have
you gone,
what do you think? Yeah.
Have you gone into the part where he like talks about what he calls it, like it might have been a different video actually. He had like a part about like how EFAP nearly brought him to suicide or some shit like that. It was crazy.
Oh God.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I've only got to the part, and I think it's probably within the next first 15, 20 minutes is the court scene where like Fringy and that are like arguing that even though he made a joke, it's still under the oath, so they still have to treat it as if he's telling the truth. And he made a whole thing where he spoke to about 4 or 5 different lawyers saying, well, if you actually took the time to, that kind of thing, like, what a thing to freaking go into detail about. Most people who watch this thing don't care about that. They take it as face value entertainment, not like, for God's sake, we're not going to go into a whole dissertation, are we? Just enjoy the goddamn content,
Yeah.
Yes. So actually, to answer your question, no, I haven't got to the part that you're referencing, but I have kind of made a little bit of progress, maybe 20 minutes or so. It's literally, I was only curious at that point. But my question would be, would you be interested in doing a whole thing where we just take that video apart and say, look, you're talking crap. They're not necessarily right all the time, but you're just being a dick.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like Southpaw is like my personal lol cow, I would say. I'm not gonna say I like Southpaw, but I like the drama around him. It's like something I'm kind of invested in, so I would be definitely up for that.
Cool. So what it would be then? What's your availability for next week? Because what I can do, I can make the stream earlier if needed, because I know not everyone is able to do very late. Yeah.
I would probably prefer if we did it a bit sooner, because I'm like, you're in the UK, so I'm like an hour ahead of you.
I'm in the States.
Oh, you're in the States. Jesus.
Yeah. So I'm actually EST. So when it says 5:30 EST, that's where I actually am.
EST. Holy shit! How far ahead of me are you then?
Yeah. Like when I started this stream, it was 5:30 PM.
Oh yeah, that's quite ahead of me, because I'm currently like almost at midnight.
Okay, so what I would probably say then is I can most likely like do this as a whole day thing. To be honest, I haven't really because I've just moved into an apartment where I'm not really like going out or anything now. So I can probably do Sunday morning and change the time of the actual stream if we can do like a whole Southpaw thing as a tool to kind of say, look, this is the kind of way that people are trying to talk shit about freaking EFAP, and we can do it that kind of way. And I think it'd be a much more better for content purposes. Probably.
Sure.
Yeah. As much as I love Mauler and EFAP, it is kind of a struggle sometimes to just try and keep coming up with stuff about them. It's easier to like talk about a video,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm actually gonna leave it there. I know it's not as long, but yeah, I kind of need to go soon anyway.
No, that's fair.
I don't want to keep you up.
Don't worry about it.
Okay. So can you do me? I can't remember whether you have yet. Try and get me on Discord if you're on Discord. Unbridled
sure.
Mayo, and we'll organize something for next week.
Yeah. Just give me a second.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, for anyone who's listening, next week will probably be about 5 or 6 hours earlier than what we've been doing. It'll be in normal landscape content, platform, so should be good. So yeah, needed to fill in here while you was away.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm back. I can add you like right now if you want.
Yeah.
Literally
is Unbridled Mayo, and you'll be the same logo.
Unbridled Mayo. Let's see.
Yep, there you are.
There we go.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I'll have a look at like times and stuff. Just let me know what your day looks like next Sunday, and then we'll do accordingly because I'm pretty much available the whole day.
Yeah. Okay, for sure.
Okay. All right then. Gotta leave it there, guys. Thank you for everyone who's been watching. It'll be, as you just probably heard, much earlier next week, and it'll be the final video in this series where we discuss Mauler to the extension EFAP, in the basis that it's going to be a massive edited video project where we're trying to get more positivity to the people that we watch and love. So it's goodbye for me. Matt, do you want to plug your channel again?
I think it's fine if you guys want to look at Berserker 21 and maybe one day see a Mass Effect video essay. That might be a thing. We'll see.
Cool. So yeah, okay, so I'll leave it there. And as I say, end of every one of my videos, would you like mayo with that?